Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/Tales from Retail. And today we've prepared a new portion of interesting stories about crazy people. But before we start, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. And our first story. Customer tried to steal a computer and TV in one of the most brazen ways I've ever seen. This happened about 6 years ago at one of America's largest retail chains. I was fairly new to retail at the time, still young enough to believe in the good in people. I was monitoring our 4 self-checkout registers. A woman comes up with a computer and a TV in a box. My initial reaction was thinking why anybody would come to self-checkout to scan those items, as we didn't have hand scanners at this time over there. You either had to hover the barcode over the scanning plate, or you needed somebody like me to type in the UPC and serial number for both items. So I go over and type in the numbers and all seems well. A few minutes later, I see an error message on my screen I'm standing behind that I couldn't interpret. I didn't know what it was saying. I'd never seen this before, but it did mention the items were voided off. I thought it might have been a simple void she did, which I always need to approve on self-checkout, which annoyed me because I took the time to type in the UPC and serial for both items, and she suddenly doesn't want them? Turns out she did want the items. I go over to the woman and ask what's up, and she says she didn't know, but she used her credit card and it said the transaction went through. Not likely since no receipt came out, but she mentioned she didn't even need it. For a computer and TV? Are you dumb? She kept insisting the transaction went through. Not knowing what to do, I call a customer service manager over to sort through the problem. The customer tells the CSM the same thing, and the CSM says she needs to go to the cash office and check the transaction logs for that self-checkout to see if it really went through or not. Keep in mind throughout all this, the customer's using a, now known, not at the time, technique of acting super busy by repeatedly saying, "I'm going to be late to pick up my daughter," which, not knowing that kind of tactic, still made me think, who buys a TV and computer when they're that pressed for time? Manager reiterates that she needs to check the transaction logs and she'd be back in a few minutes. Customer's annoyed, but the manager walks off to do just that. The entire time she's in the cash office, this woman is going on and on about how it went through, and after a minute she asks if she can call her credit card company to see if they say it went through. I did not confirm that their response would mean she could up and leave, but I said she's free to do so. So she takes out her phone, calls a number, and without even being asked any identifying information, gets a rep on the line in a record time. She tells me the rep says it went through and asks if I'd like to speak to them. Not wanting to get involved with her personal financial stuff, I declined to take the phone in one of the biggest regrets of my life, because I'd kill to see what they would say on the other line, as it was clearly not a credit card company. She hangs up and now keeps on going. They said it's fine. Can I go? And I state not until the manager gets back. So after what seemed like an eternity of listening to this woman go on and on about needing to pick up her daughter, calling her credit card company, asking if she's good to go, etc., my manager comes back. She explains there was no transaction in the log of her purchase and asked to see her card. She takes one look and says, "It didn't go through because it's expired, see?" And she points. The customer, realizing they were truly defeated, angrily mumbles something like, "Fine, I guess I won't be buying these things today." Which of course was no problem for us, and storms off, leaving us baffled. I was fully expecting the customer to ring up the TV and computer as bananas. And our second story. Good. You do that. My story requires a little bit of a prelude to know how things work in the restaurant I work at. I work at a Mongolian grill, all-you-can-eat buffet. There's a huge buffet of raw vegetables, meats, and sauces. You throw what you want in a bowl and bring it up to the grill. We fit about 14 meals on the grill at a time, and everyone stands in line waiting for their meal to be cooked. When it's almost done, we go to the first meal on the grill and offer teriyaki to the first person in line, and then the second, and so on. Fairly regularly, people decide not to stand in line, then fail to correct us if we're pointing at a meal that doesn't belong to them and ask if they want teriyaki on said meal. So mistakes happen. Enter Mega B-word. MB is here with her family. All their meals are on the grill, but she does not stay in order, but switches with her son. Her son wants teriyaki, she does not. But being switched, she gets it. She points out the mistake, and the cook, fortunately I was not cooking at this time, while normally I would be, apologizes profusely and offers her another bowl. She refuses the bowl and proceeds to curse about what a effing moron he is, doing so loudly so the whole restaurant can hear her. She refuses to eat, although her family sits down to eat. She complains loudly the entire meal. When they go to pay, she complains to the hostess, and she offered to comp their drinks. The woman demanded that the food be free too because of the terrible service they received. The hostess tells her, "The cook offered you another bowl and tried to fix the problem. No one treated you horribly." The woman retorts something like, "I'm going to get online and write a terrible review of this place." The hostess smiles at her and says, "Good, you do that," probably holding back laughter at the woman by this point. And then out of nowhere and right over her son, she punched the hostess square in the face. Then her and her family left. One of the waitresses ran outside and got the license plate number. Not only that, they paid with a Groupon, so it was easy to track her down. The police arrested her, and the hostess pressed charges. What's really great is that a few months before, the hostess had been in a car accident that effed up her neck, and it wasn't healed yet. That punch, which normally one could take quite well, sent her physical therapy back to stage 1, which made it count as a new injury, which made that woman's punch assault, and that punch being thrown over her child counted as child endangerment. The best part, she was a special needs teacher, and with a felony charge, you can't work with kids. So as a result, she also lost her job. I'm shocked anyone could be that aggressive, more so that such a person worked with kids. But I'm extremely happy her life is completely effed up now. Karma and juice, because I'm really thirsty. Justice juice. And our next story. I'm calling the cops. I work in retail at the moment, but my favorite story comes from when I used to help out at my parents' business over the summer when I was in high school. This happened from 8 to 10 years ago, so some details are fuzzy, but I'll try my best to recall it as it happened. Honestly, I didn't do much other than just sit around and pretend I was working, so I was mostly just a spectator for this incident. The cashier we had at the time was a very serious, no funny business older woman who was very strict about any and all policies we had in place. One of them being no returns without a receipt. An older man comes in demanding his money back for something he bought with no receipt and on an item that I'm pretty damn sure he didn't even buy from us. We didn't have that item in stock for a while from what I heard, so he may have bought it elsewhere or a very long time ago. Of course, he was told that it wasn't possible, but we could give him in exchange for something else. But nope, he wasn't having that. He wanted his money back, and he wanted it back now. The cashier could be a tough lady, and when people gave her a hard time like this, she tended to be even more firm and strict with the rules and was not going to let this man have his way. This really upset the guy, as he was visibly red in the face, and I vividly remember seeing him starting to sweat a lot. At that point, I went to get my dad, who was working in the office in the back with paperwork because of how the situation was escalating. When we went back, the guy was still shouting at the cashier, but then he grabbed the closest item to him, which happened to be a box of toothpaste, ripped it open, and began to squirt it all over the floor and the counter. Before we could even react, he screams, "I'm calling the cops!" My dad was pissed, but told us to leave everything exactly as it is and to let him do just that. The guy's outside the store now, pacing and waiting for the police to come, and we're inside with toothpaste all over the damn place, just waiting to see what's going to happen. Eventually, the police come, and the man runs up to them, probably spewing some lies or whatnot. The cops come inside and ask us the standard questions about our store policy and if there's signs, all printed and posted in very visible locations. When they notice the mess by the counter and floor, they look and ask, "Who did this?" And the customer very proudly proclaims, "I did." The cops kind of laugh at this point and tell the man that we did not violate any laws by not giving him a refund and that we could actually press charges for vandalism and that it'd be a good idea to leave now. The man looked extremely flustered, and you could tell he realized how bad that looked, and he just took off. In hindsight, it's kind of a funny story, but at the time I was terrified of what would happen. And our last story for today. You shouldn't steal. This happened, I'd say, 20 years ago. I was working in a used music store. Essentially, it was used CDs and used video games. Now, since they were used, only the cases were on display. This is where it gets funny/stupid. These two, I'd say 14 or 15-year-olds come in. Now, at the time, I had long hair and was kind of a stoner, so one of the kids comes up and starts asking questions about everything. He's trying to distract me while his buddy's going to town. He's not very good. I know instantly what's up, but like I said, empty. So I just let them do their thing. So I take the phone and walk out of earshot and call the cops. They think I'm oblivious and stay there chatting until the cops pull up. Them thinking they're slick think nothing of it, so they decide it's then time to go enjoy their new CDs. They walk out and the cop calls them over. I hear an "Excuse me, can I search your bag?" They both turn white as sheets. The cop pulls out like 10 CD cases and 4 or 5 game cases. This is when they discover they just got busted with empty cases. The owner was a tyrant, so charges were pressed. Don't ever underestimate the stoner kid working the counter. When it dawns on you that CDs were around 20 years ago and are kind of rare now. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.